Hello, I'm Sam from LCAProductions.
And I'm Taylor.
Welcome to Science, Psychology and Philosophy. Today's question:
The tree falls in the forest. Does anybody hear?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's basically it. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a noise/sound?
I'm sorry. I found that video yesterday. I thought I might as well just...
That's nice, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Nice touch. So, now the reason that this question is noise/sound is because I've heard it different ways. I don't know if there is a way. What the original one was. Was it noise or sound?
I heard sound. Every time I'd look it up, it was like, does a tree make a sound if no one's around?
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. So, basically, what I looked up was I was focusing on, at first, between the difference between noise and sound, you see.
Yeah, there's a thing.
There is a slight difference. I looked up the Oxford Dictionary, and I found that the Oxford Dictionary says a sound is vibrations that travel through the air or another medium and can be heard when they reach an ear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like, the question where it says, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one else to hear, as Bruce Cockburn once said, does it make a sound? And because sound, I'll put that down. And sound is, by definition, vibrations that are picked up by people.
Well, it says in the Oxford Dictionary it can be heard when they reach an ear.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say they have to be. So a sound is more talking about the waves that travel from an object, not talking about someone picking it up. Whereas a noise is a sound, especially one that's loud or unpleasant. So technically, a noise is someone clicks their fingers and someone goes, "Oh, that was a noise."
That was a noise.
Technically, unless it was loud or unpleasant, it wasn't a noise according to the Oxford Dictionary. Because a noise, I thought a noise was when a sound reaches someone's ear. When someone hears a sound, it's a noise, but it's not. It's just a sound, especially one that's loud or unpleasant. So scientifically, I guess you could say the tree would make a sound.
Good pun. The tree would make a sound.
I guess you could say it would make a sound because when something moves, it creates vibrations, and that's what sound is. But it might not make a noise because it's not loud or unpleasant.
That's the thing. I heard when I was doing all my research that sound is only defined when someone picks it up. And then I got into all this weird stuff where everything is based on our perception. So feeling, that's just your senses sending messages to your brain. So is anything really real? That's basically, but that's a topic for
it's kind of on topic. It's the whole idea of is anything basically real if there's no one there to perceive it? If you were to remove every single living being from the earth and only have things like rocks and minerals and stuff that's not alive, then would there still be colour? Would there still be noise? Would there still be sound? Would all that stuff still be real because there's no one around to perceive it?
No, but that's the thing. I think
that's
because
that's basically what this all boils down to.
Well, why with the absence of living creature would stuff like colour stop existing?
Exactly.
But that's the thing though, because living things gave humans gave definition to colour.
Yeah. It's the argument of
colour.
Everything is technically a fact, nothing is actually a fact. There is no such thing as a fact. But that's kind of another argument. But it does relate to this, the whole idea that nothing is a fact because someone created something. Someone created the idea that green is green. Someone created the idea that the air is air and stuff like that. So technically none of that's actually a fact because someone made it up in the beginning and we're all just choosing to believe it.
Exactly, yeah.
That is kind of what this boils down to. I've got another dictionary here. This is the Collins English Dictionary. So if I look up sound in here, we'll see what this has to say.
You should have bookmarked it.
I should have, but I'm in the process of reading it, so I don't want to...
I'll talk some more. Well, when I looked up my definition for sound and when it said that it had to be picked up by someone, I was thinking, if you recorded it on a device, you started recording... And then went away and no one was around this tree, and then it fell and the recording device picked up sound Well, by that definition, it's not sound because no human picked it up. The device did.
Yeah. Although, question is, if you were wirelessly monitoring this tree that was falling down, or recording it, or something like that, or leaving a wireless microphone and listening somewhere else, would that count as someone being around? I know someone's not technically around, but still, would that defeat the whole purpose of the question?
Well, it's like the vibrations are in someone's ears, but then it's like the vibrations in the air molecules that make sound, make noise, whatever, you know, is being picked up by the microphone in the device, which is being then transmitted, which is, it's just like another step that's kind of,
I guess,
impersonal
but
kind of thing.
If we were to change the question slightly and say, if a tree falls in the forest and no living thing is around or nearby, or no living thing hears the noise/sound, does it actually make one? So, like, if there's no one monitoring it, if there's no one like within the vicinity, if there's nothing, does it still make a sound/noise?
Well, I think yes, definitely. But the really irritating thing here is that because we have to make it so that there's complete absence of any living thing around this tree apart from the tree itself.
Well, not so. I guess you could keep the plants there, but you just can't have any animals that you can't like have a sheep there and then monitoring the sheep's reaction, or you can't leave a microphone there to then record the sound to listen to it later. But
then there's no way to know, like, scientifically, because there's no like way we can actually monitor it.
Well, science tells us that the laws of physics always apply.
Okay.
So science would say that it would make a sound/noise depending what definition you're using, and it would say because the particles would vibrate and create the sound, therefore it would happen, just no one would pick it up and nothing would record it or anything. But like can't remember this guy's name, there is a guy who came up with a theory to say that you can't be sure of something until you've like tested it. I think you said something like that. I got it somewhere. We should have brought it out, but anyway. So the whole idea is that obviously we assume the laws of physics occur all the time, but we don't know that for certain. And obviously we can't know that because we can't test whether the tree's making a sound/noise, because then that would break the question.
I think we've got to have faith, though, because we can't just assume... We're a very musical episode. We've got to have faith in the whole like physics system, just because there's an absence of anything that can perceive.
Yeah.
It's just like senses and stuff that like physics stop applying, because that's very...
Yeah, we would just have to assume that the law of physics is still occurring, even though there's nothing to monitor it. Right.
That's really strange.
So I found the definition of sound in here, and it was actually kind of interesting because it goes more on what you said about... because I said a sound is vibrations, right? But in the Collins English Dictionary, I just lost my bookmark, it said something heard, noise.
Oh, okay,
so it's actually... So the Collins English Dictionary says it's something that is actually heard and you have to hear it for it to be true. Whereas the Oxford English Dictionary says it's just the vibrations and it can be heard, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to hear it for it to be a sound.
Yeah. Oh, that's really...
So it all depends.
Does a tree fall in a yes, trees do fall in a forest quite often. If a tree falls in a forest and it makes a sound, does it actually make a sound? Depends where you look. Yeah,
it depends on like...
Also, but then it's like that creates another question, because if we're going on like the whole senses thing, and if anything, does it actually exist?
Yeah.
Then it's like, if there's an object but no one is allowed to touch it at all, they have to use like little utensils to move it around, and it's in a museum display,
does it have a texture?
And it's open, does it feel like anything?
Does it actually have a texture?
Because no one's ever touched it.
As soon as you touch it to see what it feels like, then it breaks the whole thing. Yeah. Same as if every single person on the world suddenly became colourblind and couldn't see like the colour yellow, right? Would the colour yellow still exist?
Well, yeah, I think... Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Well, the thing is, you could use computers to monitor light that's being reflected off of an object, right? So I could set up a computer pointing at a banana, and the light that bounced off the banana would go into the computer lens, and I didn't have to be around, and the computer lens could monitor it and go through coding and say that colour is yellow based on the waveforms of the light that reach it, right? But someone had to program that computer to say these certain waveforms are the colour yellow. Therefore, it's not the computer's opinion, it's the person that made its opinion. Therefore, if everyone was to go colourblind, the computer would be saying, oh, that's yellow, but it would still be basing it off the old yellow. So if someone was to recode it and say, pick up this certain waveform that we can't see that's yellow and say it's yellow, then...
I guess with sound, going back to the tree thing, sound is a lot less specific than sight and colour and stuff, because we don't give our own definitions and things like that. We don't give our own definitions to sound. If I clap my hands, that made a sound.
Yeah, but we say like loud, quiet, short, long, and really like high pitched or squeaky or low pitched or deep and stuff like that. We define it that way because obviously there's a wider variety of sounds than there are colours or probably maybe textures as well, and smells as well. There might be a wider variety of sounds than.
Well, I guess with the whole yellow thing that you were going off on. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. Yeah. It's like you are being quite specific with we programmed the computer to say that is yellow. Yeah, that's true. That's probably why that wouldn't work. But with the sound, we're not like saying if a tree falls in the forest, does it actually make a high pitched long sound? Or if if there's an object and no one's allowed to touch it, does it have a smooth texture? We're just saying, does it feel like anything whatsoever, or does it actually make any form of sound?
So
whatsoever?
If from the very start of life on Earth, every single thing that could see light didn't see colours at all, technically speaking, would colours exist or not? So the objects themselves are still reflecting the light that we currently call yellow and red and green and stuff.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All the people on the Earth haven't created red or yellow. If we went to another parallel universe where every single living thing that could see colour didn't see colour, it was just all black and white and grey from the start of life, and we said to them, held up a banana and said, this is yellow, they'd say, what in the world is yellow? And they might have their own names for colours that vary from black to white and grey and stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd just say that's like a light.
But but scientifically, the light is still going in, and it's what we perceive as yellow is still coming out, right? So if there's no one around this tree, it's falling over and apparently creating sound. Yeah. Or if we're there, it's falling over and creating sound, but we're just listening to it. It's not the best analogy. Okay, let's think of something different. If there's no one on a planet at all, no one to perceive colour.
Yeah.
Maybe there might still be humans, but maybe they just can't see or something. Then does colour still exist? So if there's no one around this tree, does the sound it's giving off still exist? If there's no one on the planet, does colour still exist?
Well, I think if there's no one to perceive something, then...
Does it still exist?
Does it exist? Yes. Does it have a name that we can call it by? Does it have like a set of... like a description? No, because there's nothing to give it that description.
There's nothing to give it a false fact.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we should call it. A false fact is like...
Fake news.
Yes, when someone says, oh, this is a banana, you think that's a fact, but it's actually a false fact, because it's something they made up that you're now believing in because you've been told to believe in it. Just like someone says, oh, XYZ, this religion, and then you believe in it.
Yeah.
But it's not a fact. But it's exactly the same. If someone said this is a banana, you believe in it and you think it's a fact, but it's actually not.
Well, yeah, if you were presented with something that you never knew before, like that existed, and then they said that's this, then you're gonna call it that because you've given...
But it's actually something they've just made up.
It's like if you get a child, 3 years old, they can talk now. I think that's like the right age. I don't know.
Yeah,
and you present them with a cat and you go, that's a bookcase. And they go, oh, it's a cute little bookcase.
Yeah,
because they don't know what it was called before.
Then that begs the question: are there such things as real facts, like real actual facts? Can you say, it's a fact that the Earth was created so-and-so billion years ago. Is that a fact, or is that a false fact? Is that something that wouldn't be true if humans hadn't come on the Earth and said and worked out how long ago the Earth was created? Would it still be true that the Earth was created that long ago?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, why wouldn't it? Well, because if something actually happened, just because there's no one there to monitor it, doesn't mean that it never happened.
But that's the whole idea of the tree.
Damn it! Yeah.
No. If no one's around to see it happen, or give it a name, or document that it happened, or prove that it happened,
that's the whole
thing.
Did
it actually happen, or not? In terms of,
there's no way of knowing.
In terms of well, actually, in terms of like humans, right? Say, someone is murdered, and there is no evidence whatsoever, right? You know they're murdered, and you know that it happened in a certain way, but you don't know how it happened, right? So you know the tree's fallen down, and you know it would have. You don't know how the tree fell down. See, this isn't a good analogy. This isn't a good analogy. Just think of something different. So say something happens, and there's no one around to see it. They know it's happened, right? We know the tree's fallen down, but we don't know whether it made any sound or not. We assume it did, based off the false fact that I'm sticking with that.
Yeah.
Based off the false fact that we assume the laws of physics occur when no one's around.
Well, because usually if you perceive a tree falling over, it makes sound, so that's just safe to assume, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're still assuming. Yeah. Like, science will tell us that the laws of physics always occur, even when no one's around. Probably, there's not really much evidence to support that, because obviously you can't, if you're there, or monitoring something, you're around, so therefore it defeats the purpose. So there's no way to know whether the laws of physics occur when nothing's happening. No one's around to monitor it. There's no way to know. But you can believe that the laws of physics still occur, and that they're happening when no one's around, but you won't be able to know. For all we know, when no one's watching, gravity could just be tiny leprechauns that really quickly run around pulling things down to the ground. I actually found that on another video. I can't remember where, but yeah.
But
no one would know that, because they wouldn't be able to see these tiny leprechauns.
Yeah, they're invisible.
You know? So all the things that we say are the laws and the facts, most of them anyway, aren't, because we've just created them and are just currently believing in them. So when someone says, oh, obviously the tree would make a sound because sound waves always occur, or the tree would make a noise because noises always occur, or whatever, depending on the definition they're going off of. So they would believe so, but there would be no way to prove it. You know? It's weird. It's the same with other things, like we were saying with colour, right? If there was one person that saw the colour red as the colour yellow, so red and yellow were switched around for
some reason,
from birth, they would grow up being told that red was actually yellow and the yellow was actually red. But you wouldn't be able to tell, because if you showed them an object and said, what colour is this, they'd say yellow. If you held up a banana and said, what colour is this, they'd say yellow. Even though they're seeing it as what you would say is red.
No, that's not. They're seeing yellow.
For them.
Yeah.
But not yellow for you. Therefore,
no way of knowing.
Yellow and red are not facts, they're opinions. But then you would say, no, they're not an opinion, because if someone told me that this banana was red, I would not agree with them, because I know it's yellow. Yeah, so therefore they're more like a false fact.
Yeah.
Something that's created that we all are believing in is a fact, when actually it's not a fact, but it's not an opinion either. It's kind of like, I don't know whether you could compare it to religion. Could you say that religion is not a fact, but it's also not a belief? It's like a false fact. You can't prove it or disprove it, therefore it's not. Although that is basically the definition of a belief. You can believe Santa is real, but you can't prove it or disprove it.
Well, he is. You wrote a book about it, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did write. Yeah, it's not published though.
Oh, okay.
It's just for friends, so no one will be able to read that.
I'm sorry.
But yeah,
no,
it's like if you can't prove it and you can't disprove it, then it's not a fact.
It's an opinion.
And then it's opinion. But then again, it might not be an opinion because it might be a fact to you and also a fact to someone else.
Well,
you know, like someone might say, it's a fact that Santa's not real because it's impossible to go around the earth and do all that stuff. And you can say, no, it's a fact that he is real because there are scientific ways he could do it. They're just not possible for us. And someone will say, then it's not possible, is it?
For us, but it's possible for Santa. But it
could be possible for Santa, yeah.
Exactly.
Or someone could say it's a fact that this banana is yellow when they're actually seeing it as red.
But then there's also...
When they're seeing it as someone else's red. But that person says it's yellow as well, even though they're seeing it as their...
But then there's also, yellow, I don't know if this applies or not, but there's also the opinion of, have you heard of the whole, lizard people taking over?
I've heard a little bit about it, not the full thing.
I saw, there was this one person who was convinced that, the Keanu Reeves was the lizard person, because in the Matrix he'd pause it at certain moments and it would look like he had, sunken eye sockets and claw hands. And quite clearly that's just artifacts created by
Isn't there something about a massive part of it about the Queen of England being a lizard person?
No, exactly, but that's the same.
I don't get it.
That's the same thing. It's just
there's no way to prove or disprove it. You can only believe or not believe, really.
Yeah, because if you ask them, they'll probably say no. But then that's either they're saying no because
it's like last Thursdayism.
Yeah.
The belief that the entire universe and everything was created last Thursday. Now, when you say that to someone, they go, "Oh no, that's impossible," and they'll say something like, "What about our memories? What about fossils and things?" And then you just simply say back to them, "I was all created last Thursday."
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, "Well, no, it's impossible."
What about the Roman Empire rising and falling? What happened last Thursday, didn't it?
Yeah. So it's like.
Or that's just circumstantial.
You can either choose to believe it or not. So the same with this. You can choose to believe that the tree makes a sound / noise, or you can choose to believe that it doesn't. But there is no way to prove it, because as soon as you record it, or as soon as you monitor it, or as soon as you set up some sort of light that will go off when it picks up sound or something, it counts as someone monitoring it, and therefore defeats the whole question. Same as if you said same as if you could monitor last Thursdayism in some way or something, it would kind of disprove it. If someone says, what about fossils, and say created last Thursday, someone says, what if you recorded the tree, and say, well then no one would be around. And so there's like most conspiracy theories, the tree falling in forest, there's an answer for everything. There's no way you can prove or disprove it. So it's not based off your definition of sound / noise, which is what I thought. It's more based off of
what you believe in,
whether you believe the laws of physics apply when something's.
I think so.
Well, I would assume so, because
you assume so. That's
the
problem.
Yeah, because
that's the whole issue here.
Well, all the laws of physics were technically created by humans. Obviously,
they were defined.
They were defined by humans. We didn't create time.
No.
Time was already there. Everything is moving in a direction, but we created a way to measure it, and things attracting each other is a real thing. But we called it gravity, and we created ways to measure it. And the energy is a real thing, but we named it energy and created ways to study it and created laws about it and created ways to monitor it and record it and stuff. So, same goes for sound. Sound is technically a real thing that we discovered and created ways to record it and to alter it and to create it and stuff like that. But then it also begs the question again, back to the whole idea of, if there is no one around, is it still a real thing? Is sound a thing, or is it just a byproduct of molecules vibrating, and then luckily we've evolved to actually hear that, So is there some if there were no animals, it was just plants in the entire universe, would sound be a thing, or would it be more of an accidental byproduct?
Do you reckon then, because there's the absence of herbivores, there's the absence of just animals in general, humans, they wouldn't be able to chop down rainforests, then the whole food chain, the whole evolutionary thing would change completely. So maybe plants would have evolved to have had something that could, like a diaphragm or something that could vibrate when
and pick up sound.
Yeah.
But why would they need that though? Because other plants aren't there's nothing making sound besides like wind and stuff.
Well, you don't know that. Well, I guess you don't know that because it might be because we're talking about an entirely different evolutionary like spectrum.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
So we don't know if it could be like Day of the Trifid style.
Yeah, plants might evolve to be able to move really quickly, but then then they might become animals, though, and that would defeat the whole thing. But they'll still be plants. But
yeah.
Well, now we're going a bit off topic. So the whole idea, I guess you could call it the whole concept of sound is based off of our perception of when molecules possibly accidentally, well, they don't accidentally vibrate, when they vibrate, right? And they create small disturbances that come out from their centre, and that's what we hear as a sound. But again, if you removed every single ear from an area, or from existence entirely,
a lot of people would be in pain.
It would really hurt. But also, it'd be very quiet as well. But also, we would never have heard any sounds to come up with the word sound, to come up with the concept of sound. But the molecules would still be vibrating and sending out those signals, right? Well, that's what the laws of physics tell us.
Yeah.
If we were to every single living thing was to disappear from the entire universe, from the start of the universe, how do we know that gravity would still exist and stuff? We assume it would because of the laws of physics. But for all we know, you know the simulation argument? Yeah. We'll discuss this in another video. But also, for all we know,
the whole Matrix kind of thing.
All the things like gravity and sound and loads of concepts like that may only exist because either a divine creator or an advanced intelligent species that are running a simulation have put it in there to satisfy the living things in the universe. If there were no living things in the universe, there may be no gravity, there may be no sound, because there may be no need for it, because there's no things that need to interact with the world. There's just a large bunch of rocks floating around, knocking into each other, and things burning and stuff. So there may be no need for sound, probably even no need for light or gravity. Well, there might be need for gravity to hold the planets together, but then even why would you need to hold the planets together? Why can't everything just be a big mass of molecules?
Yeah.
So going back to the tree falls.
Yes and no.
Yeah, the tree does it make a sound? It depends on whether you believe the laws of physics apply when no one's monitoring it, or whether you think.
Sorry, I'll fix that.
That's fine. Or whether you think no, the laws of physics might not apply. You can't prove it. There's
that kind of question.
But then I guess you could say, oh, I think that the laws of physics don't apply when no one's around. I think that either a divine creator would just not bother making the laws of physics apply, or I think that to save up on hard drive storage, the simulation would just not run the sound or the gravity or even the light.
The funny leprechauns won't shake the branches when you walk past.
Exactly. So going off of this, so if a tree falls in a forest, doesn't make a noise or sound, you could also say if there is a patch of grass that no one is looking at or perceiving, does the grass still exist? Or does the grass still give off light? Is it still green? Does it still make a sound when the wind blows through? If there's no one around, that's basically the question we're asking. Does the tree fall over, or is it just 1 minute standing up and then when we come back it's over?
In this hypothetical situation you've set up, by you saying that there's a patch of grass there in the first place, we can only say yes because you said there's a patch of grass there.
Well, we assume. So say you went into your bedroom, opened the door, everything's cool. You close the door. If there's no one looking inside your bedroom or perceiving it, for all you know, everything inside your bedroom could just disappear and be replaced by a giant floating baby head until the split second you open the door, and then all the stuff reappears again.
Okay. Are we setting up? Is this a new conspiracy theory? Every time you close the door, a baby head.
It's the same with the tree. For all you know, when the tree could go from standing up. It could teleport to down on the ground. All the molecules could instantly teleport. There could be no sound created, or there could be just like a screaming goat sound, and the tree could turn yellow or like orange with yellow with orange leaves until someone comes back and looks at it, and then it can go back to normal. And you wouldn't know because you're not monitoring it. You would assume you can assume that it would fall down like any other like videos of trees falling down or trees that you've seen and make a sound that you've heard before, but you wouldn't know because you don't know whether the laws of physics still apply. You know, there's no way to prove it without breaking the theory, the question. So for all you know, when that patch of grass that no one's looking at could just disappear from existence entirely to save hard drive space on the simulation, or just because maybe that's the way physics works and we haven't figured that out yet. And maybe that is the way physics works. Maybe nothing exists unless there's something to perceive it in some way, whether it's sight, smell, light, sound, or some other senses we haven't discovered. Maybe that is the first one of the laws of physics that we haven't discovered. And would we ever discover it? Because there's no way to discover that something doesn't exist when there's no one around, because as soon as you're around it would exist. You know? Yeah. So it sounds like we're going off topic, but we're not. This is all part of this question. This is all part. So we don't, like, we would say, scientifically it makes a sound, or scientifically makes a noise. But that, or you can say, well, based on the laws of physics, based on this or that. But none of that can be proven. Yeah.
I'm gonna cry, Sam. Stop.
It makes well, that's what this podcast is about. It
makes a lot
going
of sense.
into deep
really
questions
have to think about kind of stuff like this.
Yeah, you have to think. There is
because I mean, it's just like if you're dismissive about this kind of questions, just the instant thing would be yes. But if you genuinely think about it, you sort of get your mind changed a little bit.
Yeah, and you say it becomes not a yes or no, but more of a there's no way to tell.
Yeah, but that kind of question annoys me like quite a bit. It's like there's no actual way of knowing. Is
there actually an answer to this question?
That irritates me slightly.
Well, there is an answer to the question because
maybe.
Well, let's say for example someone says, yes, the tree would make a sound. That's the laws of physics. Okay, and then we'll go back to what we were saying earlier about how like the laws of physics were created by man as a false fact. Like, yes, there is such a thing as gravity, light and sound,
sure,
but we created all those concepts ourselves based off what we perceived.
We gave it the name gravity, basically.
Yeah, so therefore if we're not perceiving it, or if it's perceived by a sheep or something, the sheep wouldn't think, that's a sound or that's light. Obviously sheep might not be that intelligent,
I've discovered something.
They're not that intelligent probably, but
we don't know.
They might not.
It's a conspiracy for another.
They wouldn't see it as light or sound. They would just go, that's green. That's some green grass. I can eat that.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of light and sound and gravity is a concept, something that we've created based off what we're perceiving, but for all we know, when there's no one perceiving it, it might not exist. Like I watched an interesting Vsauce video recently about how gravity isn't actually a thing, it's just objects moving through time.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting, because it kind of in a way makes sense. Like,
and time is another human construct, because technically,
well, for all we know, the entire span of the universe could be happening in a second. Thursday.
It's just it's just a way to measure time. Like there's that video we watched earlier where it's saying that if we had like just 10,000 years to it would still make sense. Or I could just decide to, for every 2 seconds, call that a minute, and that would be my definition of time. Yeah,
it's a whole. Well, in a book that I'm writing, I don't know if I'm going to publish it or not, but I said that there are 2 variants of time. There's time as in hours, days and stuff, and there's time as in the driving force, the other part of space-time, the other part of reality. Like, without time, everything is just like, just space.
Yeah.
Like, that everything happens at once, and things wouldn't exist because actually needs time for space-time, right? So, yes, hours and minutes and stuff like that is a concept, but our cells do age over time, and things do occur and happen over time. But it begs the question again, if there was nothing around to be affected by that, would it exist or not? Like, if there was nothing to be affected by gravity, I know that would mean nothing exists, but if there was nothing to create gravity or be affected by it, would it still exist?
I mean, if there's absolutely nothing, because, that's the thing, gravity is... Well, I watched the Vsauce video as well, so now I'm not so sure about the definition, but what I was taught was that gravity is something that pulls you into just this massive body because it's so big that it has its own gravity. But if there's absolutely nothing at all, then nothing will be able to make gravity
So
they won't be able to secrete gravity.
So gravity technically wouldn't exist if there was a parallel universe. I mean, I'll say if there was, but obviously there is. But we'll get onto that another day. If there was a parallel universe where nothing that makes a sound is around, like if there's no people to perceive sound or make sound, if there's no suns or stars to make explosions, or all the explosions are silent, like if there's a universe where when particles vibrate they don't give off waves that can be perceived as sound, would sound in that universe still exist? I mean, the concept wouldn't, because humans wouldn't have created it, because there would be nothing for them to hear. But technically it wouldn't exist because in that universe you've removed it.
About it. Well, that's the thing then, because like however long ago when there was the Bronze period, like the Bronze Age or the Stone Age, and then someone developed cancer or something. That's a bit morbid, you know what I mean? It's a bit morbid, but it's just the first thing came to my head. They wouldn't know what was happening. They didn't know that it was a multiplication of cells that, that was just a rapid growth, and it was unhealthy. They didn't know that, so they just assumed, they died. Full stop. There's no reason why. But as technology and medical prowess developed,
then we named it cancer and tumours and everything.
But that didn't stop it from existing before.
It still existed.
It just gave it a name.
So what if there was a parallel universe where there was no such thing as an apple? Apples didn't exist, right? In that universe, apples obviously wouldn't exist, right? But to us, they still do. So if you were to go over there and say, "Can I have an apple?" they'd be like, "I don't have a clue what an apple is."
Just give you a cat. There you go.
I don't have a clue what an apple is. So if there was a universe where there was where molecules didn't give off waves that didn't produce sound, then technically in that universe sound wouldn't exist, right? So if a tree fell over in the forest and no one was around to
perceive that
you don't know whether sound would exist.
I don't know why I'm not doing air quotes. No one can see. Can see them.
But getting back to the question,
yes.
As I said earlier, there's the whole idea that for all you know, the tree might not even fall over. It might just be 1 minute standing up and 1 minute on the floor.
Yeah.
And it could be yellow and orange, or it could be no colour at all.
Flashing.
And then
bright colours.
But then again, saying it could be yellow or orange and stuff like that.
We don't know. It could.
Would it technically be that, or would it not? Because again, there's no one around for the light to get to their eyes and for them to say that's orange.
Yeah.
Like if in another universe where there are no humans or no animals to think about colours, there's an orange sitting on a tree. Would the light coming off that be orange, or would that just be whatever light the cells on, whatever light the molecules are absorbing? It wouldn't be orange. It would just be the light that the molecules are absorbing. And obviously, it wouldn't be light because no one's named it light, and it wouldn't be molecules because no one's named it molecules. And it wouldn't be an orange because no one's been around to define it as an orange. It would just be
this thing.
It wouldn't even be matter. It wouldn't even be a thing. It would just be like, Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy.
So, if a tree falls in a forest, does it make a noise or sound?
Possibly not.
Well, is there even a tree? Is there even
sound?
Is the tree even falling over?
Sound doesn't exist.
Does sound even exist?
What's a forest?
Is the forest even real anymore? What is real?
If there's no one here to experience a forest, is there even such thing as
a forest?
Like
in films and stuff, when people kind of freak out and they go, "Is anything real anymore?"
No.
That's technically what we're trying. That's technically what we're trying to answer with this question.
Existential crises.
It's like, if no one's around to perceive anything, does stuff still exist? Or, not even that, if no one's able to perceive it, does it still exist?
No. But yes, but no.
Your logic would tell you that yes. Logic would tell you that just because no one's there to perceive light or the sound, but then if everything else makes a sound when you are there, then surely it would make a sound when you're not there. But then
if you're thinking about, like, if they can't, they're physically unable to perceive that sound. Excuse me. There's my phone. Oh. There's no, like, receptacles for the air to vibrate in their eardrums. Then it wouldn't, because they wouldn't have any clue what sound is in the first place.
Yeah. But
I guess that's not really what the question's asking.
Well, if there's no one around,
it's just basically if a tree falls.
There's kind of like a spectrum. You could say, yes, I agree. You could say yes, it would make a sound because everything else makes a sound, so the laws of physics apply. And then you could go another step further, and you could say, it would make, depending on your definitions, it would make a sound, but it wouldn't make a noise because there's no one there to perceive it. Then you could go another step further, and you could say, it doesn't make a sound or noise because the laws of physics may or may not apply, so you don't know. You could then go another step further, and you could say, before you get to the laws of physics stuff, you could say, it might not make a noise or sound because there's no one around to perceive it at all, so you don't know. Then you could get to the next step, and you could say, for all you know, the laws of physics might not apply. And that's kind of the whole spectrum. So you could go from, yes, the laws of physics clearly would still apply, they don't just disappear when no one's there to perceive it, all the way up to, just when there's no one there to perceive it, you don't know.
My answer to this question is the Malcolm in the Middle theme tune.
What?
Because yes, no, maybe, I don't know. May you repeat the question.
I think I recognise that actually slightly.
I'll play it for you later.
So, let's conclude this. As I was saying, so when a tree falls in the forest, if there's no one around or no one recording it or doing anything wirelessly like that, does it make a sound/noise?
Nobody knows.
The answer varies on a spectrum from you believing that the laws of physics still apply, all the way up to you believing that they might not.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can believe that they definitely don't apply.
Well, there's no real answer to this question.
So and also, there's that half. There's the half saying the laws of physics will still apply, and there's a half saying the laws of physics won't apply. But then there's also the other half where you could say there's no one around to perceive it, so...
so there is a real answer, there's just no wrong answer.
Yeah, there's an answer, but there's multiple answers because you cannot prove any of them. It's an answer that's based on belief, much like, is Santa real, is the Earth flat, is the Queen a lizard, is time a real thing, is blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
There's no way to prove it. And I don't know if in the future someone's going to come up with a way to prove somehow that... I don't know how you'd prove it, because as soon as obviously you record it, then that defeats the purpose. Yeah. So I don't know how someone would prove that sound still occurs when no one's around.
Very clever.
Or not. I don't know how you would prove it, but at the current point of recording, the answer to this question is whatever you want, really.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
I think that's the end of this first episode of Science, Psychology and Philosophy. This was based on science. This one was based a lot on science and philosophy.
Yeah, philosophy.
Maybe little bits about psychology as well. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, leave a like if you're watching this on YouTube and stuff. Tell all your friends.
Leave a favourite if
subscribe,
you're watching.
Follow.
Leave a favourite.
Thumbs up.
Leave a favourite if you're watching on Twitter. Also retweet.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe just quote the tweet so that people can click on the thing.
Yeah, then we'll do the outro. These answers are 50% our opinion and 50% science, psychology and philosophy facts.
So please take them with a pinch of salt.
And maybe try to come up with your own answers.
We'd love to hear what you think, so get in touch.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment below.
If you're watching this on Twitter, send one of us a message either at ProductionsLCA or Inkydoodle4.
Or if you're watching on the LCAProductions website, go to the contact page to send us an email.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.